Hello again, brothers and sisters. This is Stephen Piercy coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada at the 29th International Convention for the Teamsters Union. Today was the second day of the convention. It's Tuesday, June 28th. And just like yesterday's video, we're going to run through the notes I took today so that we can keep you guys updated back home. Now, they may not be in the exact order they happened during the convention, but we're going to go ahead and get started on them. So, the session started out today at 9 a.m. That's Pacific Standard Time with the independent election supervisor coming up on stage and explaining the rules for nominations. The election supervisor is the person who's going to be overseeing the general election for the Teamsters this fall. So at 9:15, nominations for vice presidents at large were begun. And following that, nominations for trustees started. So the nomination process is fairly simple. Any elected delegate can go up to a microphone anywhere on the convention floor, and basically they just go up. They're called on by the chairman, and at that point they have 2 minutes to make a nomination. Another delegate has to second that nomination. They get 1 minute to second, and then the person who was nominated has to either accept or decline the nomination. So you have to do that for every single nominee, and there's quite a few nominees, so the process takes a while. But once all the nominations were over, the Office of the Election Supervisor explained how the voting process for that was going to go. Now, the overall general election is going to happen this fall, and that's a member election where all members of the Teamsters Union will receive ballots. But at this convention, the delegates will vote to determine if someone is going to be on the ballot. Just being nominated at the convention doesn't necessarily mean you will be on the ballot. You have to receive 5% of the overall delegate body to vote for you in order to be on the ballot. So voting for that happens at the end of each day of the convention, roughly around 5 p.m., and the results are announced later that night or the next morning. So we will be keeping you guys informed as the week goes on of that. The nomination process today took about 2 hours, about an hour and a half. So a good chunk of the day was taken up just by that. After that, there were some reports by the different committees, and then there was a presentation on the Teamsters finances, including the general fund and the strike fund. Then there was a presentation about income inequality. Now that presentation led to the first resolution of today's session. If you watched yesterday's video, you know what a resolution is, but just to recap, or in case you didn't watch, a resolution is basically a suggestion on the floor made by a delegate and voted on by all the delegates that asks the international IBT, the local unions, and the joint councils to act on whatever that suggestion in the resolution was. So this first resolution was about income inequality, and it focused on primarily on CEO pay. Now, for those who don't know, back decades ago in the 70s, the ratio of CEO pay to average worker pay was about 20 to 1. So every dollar a worker earned, the CEO earned $20. Today, that number has skyrocketed. It is closer now to every dollar a worker earns, a CEO earns $900. That is something that is not sustainable. It has caused a very wide gap in income between the middle class and the upper class, and it's really damaging our country in general, not just workers themselves, because our country works best and is most financially secure when the middle class is strong. And with an income gap that large between the working class and the upper class, there's not a lot of room for the middle class to grow there. So that's something that has to be addressed. Unions are fighting that, and this resolution is really aimed at just continuing that fight. There was also a resolution about warehouse organizing. Examples were brought up of organizing successes, recent ones at Cisco and at the LA ports. and also at the Teamsters' success in helping to block the merger between Cisco and U.S. Foods, which would have really put a big monopoly in place on the food market. So this was a resolution calling for continued action on that stuff. The third resolution of the day was a resolution to fight for raising standards in the port industry, to condemn wage theft and fight against it, and to try and bring labor peace to the ports where there's a lot of labor tension between management and the unions. So that's just kind of a general resolution to address those things. There was also a lot of guest speakers today. A large part of the convention today was various guest speakers. We had several drivers from recently organized Cisco, and also drivers from shuttles in Silicon Valley, where there's been some organizing success with things like the shuttles that take employees to Facebook's headquarters in Silicon Valley. So those drivers are starting to unionize, and so some of those people came and spoke about those organizing drives. We also had a guest named Tony Sheldon. He is Australia's National Secretary for TWU, which is the Transporters Workers Union. Len McCluskey from Unite, which is a British and Irish trade union. He's the General Secretary of that. He came and spoke. I'm probably going to pronounce this guy's name wrong, but Stipe Miocic came and spoke. He is a Teamster member, a firefighter, and he's also a UFC heavyweight champion. So he came and spoke about the responsibility that firefighters face on the job, and also a lot of the struggles he's overcome in getting to where he is today as a UFC champion. So that was pretty interesting to hear. And then there was also a guest, Ed Smith. He was the president, or he is the president and CEO of Ullico. Ullico is a 48-year company. It's an investment and insurance firm that is fully unionized and union ran. It's actually funded by union money. So that's an interesting organization. They boast that they have no ties to Wall Street. They've been in business about 90 years, and there's actually 2 Teamsters who sit on their board. So that's pretty interesting stuff that he had to talk about. And that was pretty much the day. There's a few other things here and there, but those were some of the biggest highlights. So that's kind of wrapped up for what happened that day. We don't know what happened with the voting and stuff yet. That hasn't happened yet. The results of that haven't been released yet. Tomorrow will be more nominations. They'll get into the regional vice president nominations tomorrow, and also we believe they're going to start talking about constitutional amendments tomorrow. So there should be some much more interesting stuff happening tomorrow as it relates to things like that. So once again, thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned on Facebook, on Twitter. We're going to do our best to keep you guys informed. Thanks.